2. Self-feeling, P. The feeling soul in its totality distinguishes itself within itself and separates itself from its particular feelings in which it is immersed, and now becomes a subject in relation to them, and is self-feeling. That is, it feels itself, only in its particular feelings, and not yet by itself, not yet as a self-contained I. Here we have another, more intense type of division and opposition between the soulful and objective consciousness, namely the soul or psychic disease of derangement or insanity, which is caused by the separation of the two sides or centers of the self, which in the normal individual are in a unity in which the rational objective side maintains control. In passing, Hegel notes that many people became insane in the French Revolution by the collapse of almost all civic relationships. Thus, derangement, a kind of dreaming while awake, happens when the adult mind, the intellectual objective consciousness, cannot integrate a particular feeling or idea with itself. That is, idealize it and incorporate it into the totality of the soul's contents. According to Hegel, there are 3 types of insanity, which all involve a submergence within oneself, i.e., within the soulful feeling self, which takes over the objective, rational free self. Examples of the first type of submergence are imbecility, absent-mindedness, rambling, and perhaps autism and dementia, though Hegel does not mention these 2. The second type is madness proper, which happens when a fixed idea or feeling takes possession of the subject, who then regards it as objective or real, such as, I am a king, or everyone is persecuting me. One example that Hegel cites is that of an Englishman possessed for some time by the fixed idea of a loathsomeness and disgust with life, and who was on the point of drowning himself in the Thames River when he was attacked by robbers. He offered the fiercest resistance, and by the suddenly awakening feeling of the value of life, he lost all suicidal thoughts. The third type is mania or insanity, where the subject has a vivid feeling of the conflict and contradiction between his fixed idea and his objective consciousness, and at the same time tries to escape from the conflict. Hegel notes here that, quote, in insanity, where a particular idea takes control over the rational mind, the particularity of the subject emerges without restraint, and the natural impulses throw off the yoke of the ethical laws rooted in the universal will, and give rein to the dark, subterranean powers of the heart. Indeed, the fury of the insane can become a mania for injuring others and even a desire to kill, which with irresistible force compels those in its grip to kill even those whom otherwise they love tenderly, end quote. The cure of derangement is both physical and psychological. Of interest here is that Hegel excludes chemical or pharmacological cures, the predominant method used in psychiatry today. Of the former, Hegel notes that by work, the mad can be forced out of their diseased subjectivity and fixed idea and impelled towards the actual. For example, a Scotsman cured the insane by harnessing half a dozen of them at a time to a plow and making them work till they were completely tired out. Hegel cites as an example of a psychological cure the case of a doctor who pretended to enter into the delusion of a patient, quote, who believed he had a hay cart with 4 horses in his stomach, and who was freed from his delusion when the doctor said he could feel the cart and horses, and so gained his confidence, and then gave him an emetic and made him vomit out the window, just as, with the doctor's connivance, a hay cart was passing by outside, which the lunatic believed he had vomited, end quote. The main point as regards the cure is that the insane are still, underneath everything, rational and moral beings, as the French psychiatrist Pinel was first to maintain. The doctor must make that fact central to his treatment and use it to gain the confidence of the mad. Hegel records many more examples of this method of treatment, which definitely should be read. 3. Habit. The 3 sections of the feeling soul follow the concept's 3 moments of unity, opposition, unity restored. In the feeling soul, in its immediacy, there was an unmediated relation between the soul and its contents, between the inner and outer. In self-feeling, there was a split or opposition between the 2 sides. The soul distinguished itself from its particular feelings, sensations, and ideas. Here, in habit, following the cure of insanity, we witness the return to unity by means of, 1, the universalization of the soul's particular feelings and sensations and their incorporation or idealization into the soul, and 2, its mastery and taking possession of its body, making it a fit sign and tool of the mind. This is the soul's liberation from bodiliness, its immediacy. A habit is formed by a repetition of sensations or feelings, like tying one's shoes, or reading, typing, walking, or standing erect. At first, you must attend to each individual sensation, but after sufficient repetition, when the habit has been formed, the unity and universality of the sensations, then you no longer have to attend to the sensations. They have become part of your being, of the soul's universal being. Hence, you are free, free from sensation and free to focus on other things. The 3 forms of habit are: 1, an immediate sensation is posited as negated, e.g., hardening yourself against heat or cold. 2, desires are dulled by the habit of their satisfaction, and not by forcible repression. 3, habit as dexterity or learning a skill, such as playing the piano. Your body is made into an instrument of your mind and will. With habit, the soul has mastered its body and sensations, universalizing them and making them one with itself. For the soul is the absolute ideality which overarches all its contents and determinacies. It reduces what is still immediate to a mere property or moment of itself, and by this absolute negation becomes a free, independent individuality for itself. The actual soul. The actual soul is the unity of the soul and its body, the unity of inner and outer, in which the soul is master of its body, which is just an expression of the soul, qua its upright posture, facial and physical gestures, e.g. nodding, and its gait. Thus the soul, when relating to its body, is only relating to itself. Likewise, since in habit the soul has universalized or idealized its sensations, the soul, in relating to them, is only relating to itself. Recall that the soul's and the spirit's essence is ideality, and it has now been realized initially. For the soul has idealized both its body and sensations. The soul has overcome its natural immediacy, hence is no longer soul. The soul has made its other, body and sensations, into itself. So, the soul is now for itself, or has a being for itself. Again, in relating to its body and sensations, it is relating to itself. So the soul, as a being for itself, has now become an independent subject, or an I, which is universal and involves thinking and the concept, which have come to the surface for the first time. In other words, the soul is implicitly, or contains within itself, the I, the universal, thinking, and the concept. Once it has universalized, idealized its contents and body, and incorporated them into its own universal being, it becomes aware of itself as an I. Therefore, the soul now, as an I, subject, or consciousness, which is for itself and independent, necessarily excludes and projects its natural contents outside of itself, which then become an independent, objective world. We now have consciousness of an object, or a unity in opposition. We have a separation or distinction of subject and object, and also a unity of these opposites, since the object, its sensations, are its own, or itself, as they have been universalized and idealized. As Hegel sums it up, page 140, quote, "The I excludes from itself the natural totality of its determinations as an object, as a world external to it, and relates itself to that world so that in it it is immediately reflected into itself, consciousness, end quote. Thus, we now enter phenomenology, whose main task is to overcome or sublate the separation between consciousness and its object. Thank you.